Hey folks, I don't know if you can read that or not. I just got a new camera to replace the one I had that doesn't work. But what you see there is my old logo for Applied Sciences Laboratory, which was my that was my name of my business that I had for virtual reality. And what you see here in my hand is the first headset for virtual reality. And had a strap across here, and it used to have a strap across the back. I salvaged it for something else. But basically, you put this on, and the geomagnetic orientation sensor that I had designed used to stick on this little Velcro pad, and that gave real-time tracking. I mean, as fast as you could look, it would follow. The problem was the computers couldn't render graphics fast enough 30 years ago. This is 30 years old. You can see all the dust on there. And I don't know how well this camera's focusing, so y'all bear with me. This is just a trial run, but you can see the two lenses in there. There's two lenses in there, and inside here was two color pocket televisions from Radio Shack. They had just come out with them, and so that was the idea. But there's a lot of reasons why this technology was suppressed, and why the government posed as a Canadian oil company and tried to buy my invention for $15,000. They tried to buy a prototype for $15,000. No one offered to buy it. No one offered to license it. They just wanted to steal the idea and use it to make missiles and bombs. Or, you know, I had a guy in California who wanted to do robotic farming. I was like, yeah, but I don't have a factory. I can't just build one and send it to you. And then, you know, whoever this was, like Honeywell Corporation, we found out later was infringing on our patent. But they were just outright making them and selling them to whoever as 3D geomagnetic or 3D magnetic sensors. They didn't say geomagnet; they said 3D magnetic sensors. But Honeywell was the people that made the actual Hall effect sensors that we were using at the time, and they questioned us like, you know, what do you need it for? And I said, oh, well, I got a patent on this, and I explained what virtual reality was and all this, and there were other people at the time that were working on virtual reality, but we were the first ones. I say I because I was the principal inventor, but my partner, Billy Smith, he's since changed his name, but Billy and I worked very hard on this long before anybody else really. I mean, we had the idea. Billy had the first idea to do something, and of course I did all the work of inventing the machinery for it, and he helped with the programming, and he helped with patent searching and things like this. So, but anyways, all that is in the past. It's a long story. It was 30 years ago, and like I said, there was probably a lot of good reasons why the virtual reality was suppressed for 30 years, but I still don't think it's right. You know, I felt like they should have had start coming out with at least some kind of little cheapy video game, you know, as early as like 1998. These things could have been on the market. But so anyways, that's the first virtual reality helmet, and I don't remember what this loop back was. This was something for the antenna that had to feed back in, because what we were doing is we were going through an NTSB converter, you know, like basically using a VIC computer or a Commodore, you know, Commodore 64 computer or whatever, so it couldn't really render the graphics fast enough. And then of course by the time this version was completed, we demonstrated this one at Disney World, or we demonstrated the sensor. I don't think we demonstrated the whole system, because the graphics couldn't render fast enough. This was tracking in real time, you know, but the graphics were super slow. And we even got invited to visit NASA. We went to the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, and they had a data glove there that some company in California had made for like $200,000 or something. I could have retired then for $200,000 easy. But I already had a data glove that was real time, and even with the simplest of computer interface, even, you know, the computer graphics could render it in real time too. You know, even with a crude, you know, IBM, you know, Pentium 1 or whatever that they had back. That's like IBM 365 or something like this that they had back then. that we had, when I was doing electronics back then. But the data glove they had at NASA, I was not impressed. We kind of looked at each other. Billy looked at me, I looked at him, and I was like, man, this is crap. And I was like, what are we doing here? We're talking to these guys at NASA, but they're not. They're just looking at us like, well, that's very interesting. Now go away. We're not going to buy your thing. We're not going to offer you any money. We're not going to help you manufacture it and market it. They just kind of looked at us like, they smiled and they were polite, and they're like, okay, go away. We're going to steal your idea now. But they had a data glove there. Like I said, it was just super slow. It was using fiber optics, and I guess it had to do a whole lot of really complicated computation to render the graphics. So maybe just the graphics were really slow. But the data glove was really complicated and expensive too. There's no need for all that fiber optics and stuff. I just put little Hall sensors on the joints, and boom, you got real-time differential, basically like potentiometers on your fingers, and you just as fast as you can move your hand, it would track on the computer. Same thing with the geomagnetic orientation tracking systems, basically like a solid-state gyroscope. Now this is before they had accelerometers, which is probably what they're using now for like a solid-state gyroscope for the virtual reality that they're finally coming out with now. After 30 years after I invented it and got screwed. So anyways, that's not the only invention that's been stolen from me though. I invented in like 1983 or something, I invented a digital inclinometer. It may have been 1982, I think. I invented a digital inclinometer, and it was 1986 or 87. No, I'll take it back. It was 1988 because I was already married and I was living with my ex-wife, and I saw this on a Craftsman trade show. It was like the Sears Industrial Tool Show or something. But anyways, Craftsman Corporation was there, and they had electronic carpenter's level, a green light in the center. When this end's too high, that red LED comes on. When that end's too high, red LED comes on. And it was even gray. They even made it out of gray plastic, which mine was made out of a block of wood. And the only reason I painted it gray because that was the only paint I had left over. I had some kind of like gray, it was battleship gray, that I used to paint my little laboratory my little home laboratory that I was working on. So anyways, I dug out these old scopes and stacked them up here so I could kind of feel at home and maybe start doing some electronics again, in addition to the motors that I'm inventing. But I might not be showing my motors to anybody else because with the inclinometer, the virtual reality, the 3D tracking thing that Honeywell infringed on that patent, I made like a robot arm costume when I was 18. I showed this to lots of people, and of course a couple years later you see the thing on the market. It's exactly to the T what I invented, and someone's making $1 million on it. So you get $1 million idea. Well, it's $1 million idea for the people that already have a lot of money that are going to steal your idea, like the fidget spinner lady. Okay, the fidget spinner lady, she had got a patent. She spent her whole life savings trying to keep up the patent, trying to get attention, trying to get free publicity, trying to get on the news so that she can sell her invention or license it. This is something that doesn't happen. There is no corporation out there that's ever going to buy or license your invention. All they want to do is steal it and patent it themselves or go around your patent. Corporations have no sense of honor. They don't want to turn you into some kind of hometown hero. It's a shame because it would be good publicity for them. But these corporations simply don't do that. The fidget spinner lady, they waited till she was broke, until she couldn't upkeep her patent fees, and then they just went and they mass marketed it and they sold millions of them. They created the fad. They engineered the fad, and they told people, this is what you want. You got to have a fidget spinner, just like you got to have gasoline. Well, you don't have to have gasoline. Free energy is everywhere. But like I said, I don't think I'm going to show my motors to anybody else, because 4 out of the last 5 people that I've showed my invention to have since come here and threatened to kill me. Literally, they have threatened to either kill me or kick my ass. My next door neighbor over here on this side, he just literally just said, somebody needs to kick your ass. I was like, why? Why does somebody need to kick my ass? I'm trying to make the world a better place. I'm trying to invent clean energy and things that could... Virtual reality was supposed to help educate people You could train pilots so they wouldn't have to risk lives. You could train surgeons so that they could operate in virtual reality without risking anybody's life. You know, they could practice on virtual cadavers or whatever. So, you know, virtual had a lot of promise as a teaching tool and to make the world a better place. So what they start doing, they start making violent video games like Doom and, you know, Grand Theft Auto and all this. They immediately started making these war games and training young teenagers how to shoot guns and kill people, and making them, and really desensitizing people to blood and gore. I remember when Doom came out, I was just horrified. I couldn't even look at it. I'm not a fan of horror movies. You know, there's enough horror and danger in real life. You know, like this guy across the street. He sees my invention and he just flips out. Like a couple weeks later, he just like comes over here. He's like, "I'm about to kick your ass." I'm like, "Not another one." You know, what did I do to you? All I do is, you know, see if you're interested in helping me start a new company or something. You know, I try to be nice to the guy. I helped clean up his yard, and he accuses me of all these things. It's not true. He says I'm calling the cops on him and all this shit. I've never called the cops on anybody until I had to call the cops on this guy that broke my fence. This guy come and smashed my fence and threatened to kill me. That's the third one. Okay? And he saw my YouTube videos, and he's like, "Oh wow, you know, you got a YouTube and you've got an invention is real. Oh, but you're poor and you got a government phone and all this." And they just started like he just wanted to diss me and disrespect me and try to make me feel like I'm worthless because I'm poor now, because I'm poor right now. Okay, but I've not always been poor. I used to make really good money. I had a successful construction business. I was a member of the Better Business Bureau. My customers were some of the wealthiest and most powerful people in this town. You know, I used to fix some of the nicest, most luxurious homes on the north side. So, you know, for them to disrespect me and treat me like I'm just some kind of, you know, I don't want to say the N-word, but they do. All these racist, excuse my French, but all these racist assholes around here constantly use the N-word, and they use it when they're talking about me. You know, the crazy bike guy. They call me crazy bike guy because I choose not to purchase gasoline. I made a choice not to buy a car until electric cars are available. Consumers are going to have to stand up and demand clean energy and demand a better world. These corporations are not going to give you a better world until you start demanding accountability. So anyways, I'm not going to lecture and rant on that anymore, because like I said, everyone I've showed my invention to, except for my father, who's dead now, you know, has threatened to kick my ass or kill me. That's kind of a supernatural thing. I'm a 50-year-old man. Okay, I've been on this earth a long time, and I haven't been in a fight since 3rd grade. I haven't had anyone threaten to kick my ass since high school. You know, so I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand why people can't accept that I invented something. You know, even if you don't want to know what it is, or even if you don't want to help me, you know, just accept, oh yeah, he invented something, it's real, I saw it working. I showed it to my sister, and a couple days later she calls the cops and tells them I'm insane and should be locked up. I mean, I'm riding around on an electric bike powered by a homemade motor that proves that it works, at least. You know, I can't prove that it's super efficient or super powerful without some extensive, you know, what do you call, like, you know, testing or peer review or independent testing, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But I'm not going to let anybody independent test it if I'm not going to be allowed to get a patent, or I'm not going to be allowed to sell my patent or license my patent, or if they won't even let me build them and sell them. If I can't even get a license to make them and sell them, you know. And now that they've labeled me as crazy, oh, that's the crazy bike guy, you know. That's a whole other story. But basically it's just suppression. It's just, there's something about the concept of free energy, or if it's outside of the little virtual reality box, again, talking about virtual reality, and this is the first helmet for virtual reality that was ever made. You can see all the dust. If you take the TVs out of here and look at the manufacture date by Tandy Corporation, the little pocket TVs from Radio Shack, That will prove that this is a 30-year-old headset, okay? So anyways, I guess that'll be about it for this video. I mainly just wanted to test the camera. I didn't mean to go off into a rant about virtual reality and suppression, but you know, as soon as my dad died, you know, that's when all this kind of started, this trouble with people harassing me and threatening me, and then the government just, the IRS swooped in and took my entire inheritance. I didn't inherit a dime. The only thing I got from my father's estate was what he personally gave me before he died. When my dad died, my brother flew into town and changed locks on the door. Like I'm going to go steal from my own father's estate. Give me a effing break. So, anyhow, that's how it starts, with your own friends and family suppressing you, and your own neighbors coming and threatening to kick your ass just because they don't like your ideas. You know, just because you're trying to make the world a better place, or, you know, I want to end fossil fuels. I want to end carbon combustion because global warming is real. All these gases are just building up in the atmosphere, and they're making it thicker, and it's getting hotter, and it's getting more compressed. This air pollution doesn't go at escape velocity. Everything we burn, be it carbon or methane, all these gases, they all rise up into the atmosphere, they hit the stratosphere, and they pancake, and then they just start compressing up there. They have to come down or just fill up. They don't just float out into space, you know. They don't launch into orbit and go to the moon. So all the air pollution we create, we're cutting down the trees that would normally absorb it. We're cutting down all the plants that would normally absorb it. And the oceans are absorbed just about as much CO2 as they can handle already, you know. So we really just need to go electric, and it can be done. Tesla was doing this 100 years ago. All I've done was improved it, and I've removed the CMF, and I'm doing things a little bit better than what Tesla was doing. But it's still the same thing. It's still the same free energy. You can call it zero-point energy. You can call it the aether, or some people call it orgone energy, things like this, orgone. But the energy of the vacuum, the energy that's inside materials. Carbon and uranium are not the only two elements that have energy. Hydrogen doesn't contain energy. Hydrogen is simply a form of electricity. Hydrogen is positive electricity. It's just protons. That's it. The electricity we think of is negative electricity. It's electrons. Okay, well, that's according to the standard model anyways. But every other elemental, you know, that Joe Papp guy, he was using noble gases and extracting energy either from the gases or from the vacuum, one or the other. Energy has to come from somewhere. Matter and energy can either be created nor destroyed. So that means that this energy is coming either from the vacuum or from the matter itself. So when you burn carbon, you're not destroying it, you're not converting it to energy. All you're doing is releasing this energy that was already there. You're just combining the carbon with oxygen, and you're releasing CO2. All the carbon is still there, all the oxygen is still there. It hasn't transmutated. So that's not even really nuclear power. That's got to be zero-point energy too. Or if it is nuclear power, it's releasing just such a tiny amount of it that you can't even detect. So the camera cut off on me, but what I was talking about was the energy from fossil fuels. It's still there. It has to come from the vacuum, or if it comes from the carbon itself, it's such a small amount has actually been converted that all of the mass is still there. So all the pollution is still there. It doesn't go away. It's when you burn gasoline, you're basically just dumping gasoline into the environment. So, but this is something apparently people just don't want to hear. You know, they don't want to change their ways. They don't want to hear that the world's going to end if they don't change their ways. You know, so there's really no point in even lecturing about the environment or pollution, because really no one seems to care about the environment anymore. That was a thing. That was like a fad. You know, and like in the 70s maybe. You know. There was a woman named Rachel Carlson, I think her name was. She wrote a book called Silent Spring, and after this book came out, a lot of people really started caring about the environment. But now you go on the internet and you look, I'm not really seeing anybody. It's like all they want to do is pollute more. They want to just get rid of the EPA. You know, the EPA was supposed to be like the one good government agency that's trying to protect everybody's rights to clean air and clean water and healthy food, things like this. The GMO products, that's just more, more examples of the systemic problems with pollution that we have. But and that was my whole thing. Like, I spent the entire, when I quit on the virtual reality, when I realized that the government was either a secret government or working for aliens or something, whoever they are, it's not a democracy, it's not us, your vote doesn't count. So that's another really serious problem that I had. And so that's why I quit the virtual reality and just decided I better go get a real job. No one's ever going to buy my invention, and I quit working on electronics. But during that time, I started focusing on ideas to go off grid and how I could at least take my own self out of the carbon equation. If I stop burning fossil fuels, then at least I remove my own carbon footprint from the environment. That's why I wanted to build a solar-powered factory to produce these motors. That they're cold-running motors. Got a nice fan blowing here that's keeping me, and I'm quite comfortable here. I've got a lot of shady trees around, big shady trees all around my house. My house is just sort of tucked in this little patch of woods here. So I'm quite comfortable and cool, even though it's very hot outside. It was hotter in the store than it is in here. But that was what it made me depressed, I think, and why I was kind of wanting to go into a rant about that was because really I spent my, if you think about it, if you spent the last 30 years working on ideas for clean energy, and then you finally create the one thing that could probably easily replace fossil fuels and carbon combustion with these electric supermotors. They literally are just super powerful compared to regular motors. I don't know if you can see up here all of these, and I'm going to put my glasses back on and show you something here, because this camera keeps dying on me and I want to make sure it's still filming. Okay, looks like I'm filming. 3 minutes here. So you see all these different motors that I tore apart and tested and worked on and modified and did different things to. So, and there's more over here. There's just dozens of them. There's motors, there's generators that I took apart, I rewired them, I reworked them. But then I started building my own. That's some of my other old junk there and my tools. But and again, that's just my equipment stacked up. Nothing's really doing anything right now, but that scope down there at the bottom still works, and this old computer still works. We'll maybe try to fire that up next and get some lights working on there and show you how the universal digital and analog computer used to work. But anyways, that's all for now, and I just want to go ahead and add this ending on, because the other video, I'm going to have to edit these two videos together and shut it down. But I want to say thanks for watching, and if anyone wants to help me get back to inventing things, or just at least just stay alive. I mean, like I said, the IRS took everything, my family took everything, and my neighbors want to kill me. So the only way I can keep going, start, get back to inventing things, and maybe apply for a patent again. I don't see any point in it. But the only way I'm going to be able to do all these things is if somebody helps me. I couldn't even get on disability, even though the government themselves declared that I'm crazy. So it's like, okay, so you're going to take all of my inheritance, and then you're going to label me as crazy so I can't get a job. You're going to blackball me, but then you're not going to let me get on disability? That's just evil. I mean, that's just basically showing that they're literally suppressing free energy. Anybody that invents anything related to energy, even if it's not actually free energy, maybe it's just a slightly better electric motor, that's enough. They don't want anything to, they want all the motors to waste energy. They don't want efficient appliances. I know some people probably had to pull some eye teeth to get the Energy Star label. Anything. They're trying to totally dismantle the EPA. So they don't really want free energy. They don't want clean. They don't want a clean future. They want to just keep selling gasoline to you. So, anyways, those are the bad guys, and they're very powerful. That's all I got to say about that. So hopefully they'll just start leaving me alone and stop threatening to beat me up all the time. anyhow, just want to say thanks for watching.